This is Rugby Merlin and welcome back to the channel. So Australia hosted New Zealand in BLEDISLOE 1 and it was a pretty good game actually. Kind of enjoyed it. Gets off to a good start and Australia bring the physicality which they really needed to do, and that's summed up by McWright smashing Jody Barrett early on. And that's really one of the features of the game, really, I think, is that Australia did manage to front up physically to the New Zealanders, and that kept them in the game. Early on, New Zealand are looking dangerous and good phases from them, and then eventually Will Jordan, who's playing on the wing again, back to the wing, he slices through the Australian defence to get New Zealand's first try. It's a good battle in the scrum. It's pretty scrappy. They're working each other out, and it's going to be a big test for Australia. I mean, that's been one of the biggest criticisms of them, really, is their scrum, rightly so. Yeah, they kind of holding on early, so it's going to be interesting whether they can do that for the rest of the match. Ratima, who's starting at 9, even though TJ did lead the haka, is looking very good actually. Obviously a very quality player just from his first few outings for New Zealand. He feeds my favourite player, Rico Ioane, and he gets over in the corner, and already New Zealand out to a pretty big lead, 14-0. So it's looking like curtains for Australia, even early on in the first half. The Wallabies are trying to get something going, you know, the intention is there, but small mistakes are letting them down, and they just can't get momentum, if you like, from the match. And New Zealand, as soon as they get the ball, that man Caleb Clark, who's become a bit of a try-scoring machine, he powers over. Great finish, and 21-0 now to New Zealand, so a huge lead early in the, midway through the first half. Then out of nowhere, really, a Schmitty play, set piece play off the line out, catches New Zealand napping, goes over the top, and McWright ends up finishing it off. Great pace actually from him. It looks like he was going to have to pass it, but he finished it himself. And he's a fantastic player, McWright. I really do like him. He really brings another dimension to this Australian side, and they miss him when he's not there. But out of nothing, Australia get a try, and it's a well worked and well finished try. So 21-7 now. So can Australia kick on from here? Australia are just about holding the New Zealanders back, but New Zealand look like at this point they've got an extra man on the pitch. Yeah, it's a real struggle for the Australians defensively, but Fraser McWright again is prominent. He gets an amazing 50-22 and proves what a great player he is. But the Australian lineout really is bad. They had a great set piece try, a planned move. But overall, it's not working out for them, and Surveyor gets another try for New Zealanders, and now it's 28-7, approaching the halftime whistle. Australia stay in the fight though, and you know, you got to admire that about them. They're obviously outmatched in this game, but they kept in the fight the entire time, and they get a kick to the corner. It's a big moment for Australia because they could have taken the points, but they go for the try, and yeah, Uncle Fester gets over the hooker, I think, for Australia, and yeah, from the back of the maul, another great finish, individual finish from him. So Australia are just about clawing their way back into the match. New Zealand do get a try disallowed, and there were quite a few of those throughout the match. There was a forward pass, I think, but New Zealand so dangerous on the counter-attack, and Ratima is very much involved in that, and that's one of his strong points for sure, is on the counter. He's a very fit lad, looks like, and great support lines all game from him. So yeah, very impressed with him. I thought he did well, but yeah, New Zealand go into the halftime whistle in front, and yes, it's a big hill now for Australia to climb in the second half. So halftime summary, New Zealand well and truly on top, but some promising signs from Australia, as there have been from this side for the last couple of matches. But yeah, Valentini again. I think Frost is very good in the second row. He's kind of understated character, but very physical. Australia, though, coughing up the turnovers, and they're going to have to tighten up particularly the ruck and the maul. Not so much the maul, but definitely the ruck, because they can conceding too many turnovers, and you can't do that against New Zealand because they're past masters at finishing those off and converting them into points. But yeah, as I said, Australia, they look up for it, so it's going to be interesting to see how the second half goes. So as the second half kicks off, you really feel like Australia need to score first to get any chance in this game. And Anton Leonard-Brown, my man, is on for Jody Barrett, where they picked up a little bit of a knock, I think, towards the end of the first half. New Zealand get a string of penalties, and that won't be pleasing for Schmidty, because discipline is gonna win or lose you a game. And New Zealand opt to kick the points, so they go now 31-14 in front. So a big lead for New Zealand, but it's been the case with this New Zealand side under Robinson that they tend to switch off a little bit in the second half. So it's going to be interesting to see whether that happens again, because with such a big lead and with 30 minutes to go, the danger is there that they are going to switch off. So another try is disallowed. This time Surveyor is held up, and Nick White does some good work, slipping his hand under the ball. And I got to say, even though I made a video, everybody hates Nick White. He actually played well. He got a warning for the ref, but I really think he tried to tone it down and just let his rugby do the talking this time. And more of that from him, please, because he is a good player. I got to be honest. He played well when he was on. I thought I think McDermott is it. I think he's a good player too at 9 for Australia. But yeah, Nick White with the kind of the save at the last minute from Surveyor. Australia seem to be having the better of the second half in terms of possession and territory, and New Zealand looked like they're coasting a little bit, which was always the danger. And they're kind of waiting for something to happen rather than trying to make something happen. And Australia take advantage of it, and they push New Zealand back. As I said, Australia do get a lot of possession, and they make pretty good use of it. They're really up for it and really chasing the game when really a lot of teams would have capitulated. But yeah, they do well and string some good phases together. Finally, the line-out seems to be working a bit better, and Paisami gets over for a try, and it's great. He crashes over, and Anton Leonard-Brown actually gets a yellow card now. So that's a big moment in the game, and you're thinking, can Australia take advantage of this, the one man down for New Zealand, and go on to really challenge the New Zealand scoreline? So at this point, I wrote down, it's 21-31. I wrote down in my notes, New Zealand need to wake up, because they let in Australia back in this game, and it's a worrying trend for them. I mean, the commentators talked about it a lot in the commentary, that New Zealand haven't scored many points in the last third of the game, and it seems to be the case now. But they need some leaders on there. Jody Barrett was off. I think Ioane went off as well eventually, but the leadership group, Barrett seems a little bit quiet, as captain. He needs to pump up his players for this last little portion of the game. Make sure they get over the line, because Australia, they haven't dropped their heads, so credit to them. It's end-to-end stuff. It's exciting. It's good to watch. They're throwing the ball around, both teams, particularly Australia, just trying to make something happen. Right at fullback looks like a dangerous player. Whenever he gets the ball, he's trying to make something happen, which you got to respect. And then New Zealand are stretched, and Clark, with a bit of a brain fart, actually slaps the ball down. Now I'm big. What's the word? I'm undecided about this law where you deliberate knock on, but that was a clear one. That was 100% a yellow card. He makes no attempt whatsoever to catch it, slaps it down, and Clark, who had a good game, he's off for a yellow. So at this point, New Zealand are actually down to 13 men. So pretty dire situation for them. And Australia do get what they deserve, I think, from this portion of the match. they get a try, and that man, Tom Wright, goes over for an excellent try. And, you know, as I said earlier, he's really looks dangerous when he gets the ball, and no fear. And you need players like that, particularly Australia. That's their bread and butter. You think of the classic players of Australia, like Campese comes to mind, but like NFG, you know what I mean? You need those kind of good boys for the Australians. They're always full of pace. And Wright is a classic example of that, like archetypal Australian back. So yeah, great try, and now it's 28-31 with minutes to go. However, Australia unable to kind of seal the deal. They get very, very close, and it's a thankful Adi Surveyor who kicks it into touch to end the match with the New Zealand win. But overall, I think, yeah, New Zealand will be worried about the performance in the second half, and this has been an ongoing thing now. So I'm sure Robinson Reza is gonna have to have a look at that and, you know, find out what's going on, because they've started fantastically in this game, cutting Australia to pieces, and then just kind of took their foot off the gas. And you can't do that even against Australia, like who are a team in a rebuild, if you like. But they still have talent, and they can still punish you. I came out of the game with a lot of respect for the Australians. It was a monumental task trying to beat the All Blacks and get the BLEDISLOE Cup back. But, you know, they put their best foot forward, and they were unlucky at the end. I think if you know, things had gone differently, they could have snatched a win there. But yeah, good performance, a thrilling game. Who would have thought it? You know what I mean? But yeah, I guess these teams always produce when they play each other. So very enjoyable match, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed it too. Thank you very much for watching the review, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.